Hello, everyone. My name is Anae Agostini. I'm CEO of CID Insurance Programs, and I would like to introduce you to our Contractors Insurance Made Easy. Um, Teresa Cochran, our contractors underwriter, it will be teaching the course today, and Jacob Cole is our marketing director, and he makes sure that everything's run smoothly behind the scenes. So without further ado, let's take a look at the logistics that we need to know about, and that is that you will be muted but able to hear, and you won't be able to speak, but your voice is really important to us. So please pose questions in the chat room. You can do it throughout the webinar, and we will answer those questions as we go along. A short survey will pop up at the end of the webinar, and we'd really appreciate any feedback you can provide. So what are we going to be learning about today? Teresa's going to go into identifying the different types of contractors. We want to learn important underwriting criteria of these types of contractors, so it makes it easier for you to establish what the needs of the contractor are. And in doing so, that will help you recognize what coverages are needed for the contractors. And then understanding how contractors are rated and what affects the premium is really important as well, because factual information becomes really important for getting the rating and the premium accurate. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Teresa.
Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, depending on where you're located. So the different types of contractors we're going over today are artisan, general contractors, and we'll also be touching on subcontractors. So artisan contractors, they tend to specialize in a small handful of different trades: painting, drywall, plumbing, you got your heater guys. The majority of the work will be conducted typically by the owner and a few employees. During, busy season, they may hire some subcontractors, or maybe they need some subcontractors hired because they're doing a big job and they need someone specialized in a certain trade. These contractors are going to be engaged in new construction and or remodeling work. And on the next slide, we have a few different types of contractors listed out. These are the ones I've been seeing a lot more of lately, and what we've been writing. Some of the underwriting criteria that we're looking for is what types of construction work they're going to be doing, whether it's commercial, industrial, residential, new or remodeling. If they're into new construction, we have to stay away from condominiums and townhomes. We just don't have a market for that at this time. And can you go to the next slide, please? And these artisans are going to be rated on payroll and subcontracting costs. A little bit about subcontractors. We're looking for insured subcontractors. So if your client is hiring these different subs and they're not insured, we're going to be adding them as payroll on the policy. But if they are hiring insured subcontractors, they should be making sure that they collect a certificate of insurance from them and that they are named as an additional insured on their policy, just in case it cancels for whatever reason, they are notified. So again, subcontractors, we're looking for the insured subs. If they're not insured, you want to add them as payroll. We are able to accept new ventures, risks with no prior, or risks that have had a lapse in coverage, which I'm seeing a ton of these days. People were closed during COVID. Now they're starting to reopen their business. And contracting, the contractors are busy right now. So lapses in coverage are typically not going to be an issue placing coverage for. Another thing to be aware of, depending on what state you're writing business in, some certain trades need to have a license or be certified. In California, most of our contractors need to be licensed, whether you're framing, if you're in an electrical, drywall, painting, all of those types of contractors need to be licensed. It's really easy to find that information online. If you need any help, reach out to me, but your client, the contractor, should know whether or not he needs to be licensed. And on the next slide here, we have what coverages are available. Pretty standard. You have your 1-2 limits. We can offer umbrella or excess coverage. We may or may not need loss runs, depending on the type of contractor we're trying to get excess coverage for. And then we have your AIs, your blanket AI, primary wording, your waiver, and your completed operations endorsement, which may be needed for certain types of projects that the contractor is working on. Now we're getting into the general contractors. These are contractors that have maybe more of an administrative role. They may be just overlooking the construction project and maybe not doing the work themselves, which would be considered more of a paper contractor. Or you have some that may do a little bit of the construction work and then hire subcontractors to do the majority of the work. And residential, again, we can do residential and commercial construction. The underwriting guidelines I'm always looking out for on the GCs are how much of the work is being subbed out. At least 40% of their operations need to be subbed out to be considered a general contractor. So you can have a risk come across your desk. They say that they're a B licensed contractor, which would generally place them as a general contractor. But it turns out they only have 10% or 20% in subcontracting costs. In that case, they're not going to be considered a GC because they just don't have enough of the work subbed out, and not enough of that. Not enough of their operations are being, that liability exposure is not being pushed off onto a sub. So when they're taking on a lot of that liability exposure, we need to rate them as an artisan contractor so that we're just rating them properly. We're getting enough premium out of the risk. Another couple other underwriting guidelines. We can do, depending on the carrier, 20 to 25 new single-family homes per year or at any one project site, and a duplex is considered a two single-family residences. We still don't have any markets for new construction of condos or townhomes, and tract homes are also prohibited under the GC program. And GCs are going to be rated on sales, so it's a little bit different than on the artisan side. We're rating on sales and uninsured subcontracting costs. So anybody that is an insured subcontractor is going to be part of that sales. So we don't want to double dip. We're only going to rate on sales and any uninsured subcontractors. And when I'm getting these submissions, it's really important to have a contractor supplemental completed. Rating off of a court applications for a general contractor or an artisan contractor is very difficult. I really do need that the contractor supplemental to help lay out, all the different trades that they're doing. It goes into more detail about if the subcontractors are insured or not, and it's going to list out their sales and their payroll for me. The coverages available for the GCs similar to the artisan contractors. You got your 1-2 limits, the excess or umbrella coverage is going to be available. I will need loss runs. It's not as easy to get an umbrella or excess coverage for a GC as it is for an artisan contractor. Then we have your standard AIs, your blanket AI, your primary wording, and your waiver of subrogation. And some additional coverages that are available for both, the artisan and the GCs that you may want to consider on the property side are contractors' equipment, which provides coverage for their machinery, equipment, tools, employee tools, mobile agriculture machinery and equipment. Some examples are tractors, forklifts, front end loaders, bulldozers, your miscellaneous small tools, and any other equipment that is mobile, even including laptops and in any other computer equipment that they're bringing on the job site. Your theft coverage is provided. We can go up to $1 million in total coverage, with the maximum per item being $250,000. We do have a pretty high limit for miscellaneous tools and equipment at $50,000. And if they are leasing or renting equipment, we can offer coverage for that as well. And installation coverage, it's not something you see all the time, but it is available. It's important when covering machinery and equipment for the interest of the owner, seller, or contractor during the course of installation, renovation, or repair. So if you have, materials on the job site that is going to be installed into the building, that's what we would use this coverage for. So we can go up to $500,000 at any one job site, or $125,000 at any location other than the job site, which would be a temporary location. And for property in transit, this is a good coverage to have when multiple small jobs are going on at the same time. And our carriers ask that the job sites be fenced, lighted, and or security guard protected. Some important things to take away with you today. Contracting policies are auditable. So it's really important to have a good estimate of, sales, payroll, insured and uninsured sub-costs, so that, your customer is not hit at the end of the policy period with a lump sum due to the carrier because, they didn't update their payroll or sales, either at renewal or midterm. We went over the subcontracted work, making sure that a GL policy is in place for that subcontractor, and if not, then we need to add them under the employee payroll so that they're correctly rated for. Contractors' work is not insurable. So if someone's going in, they do a horrible job in the building, only the resulting damage is covered. The poor workmanship is not insurable. And the contractor is going to be responsible for repairing their poor workmanship. But any of the resulting damage is what the liability is meant to cover. Another quick tip, sorry, Nay. Another quick tip is a lot of these contractors are starting to have their own website. They may have a Facebook page or a Yelp. It's really important to maybe do a quick search online because there's some interesting information that your client may not be forthcoming with. I've had some janitorial workers that are advertising COVID cleaning, mold and water remediation, and it could just be things that maybe they do once or none at all, but it's on their website and the carrier is going to find it, and it could cause, a declination to come across or a direct notice of cancellation. So it's important to maybe do a quick Google search on your client as well. Okay, go ahead, Danae.
No, that's really important information. I'm glad you shared that. So other things to consider with contractors as well is what they use. It used to be that contractors, it was just contractors liability, and it was just their a bodily injury or property damage situation related to the work that they did was all that was at risk. But now, contractors have evolved into so many different areas. Some of the basic ones are that any employer with employees is exposed to is employment practices liability issues. And so that policy is really important for contractors as well. And that has evolved, especially in California or in the surrounding states where it's really becoming more litigious. It's a standard. If you have employees, you carry an EPL policy. In addition, cyber liability is becoming a factor because we're also automated, and we're storing information of our clients for the jobs that we're doing, and so that becomes a consideration for contractors as well to consider what that exposure is. Professional liability is another one, that errors and emissions exposure for E&O liability. That is really a lot more prominent now with contractors because they have such a level of expertise that they're doing consulting work with clients and providing professional services for a fee in addition to the construction work that they do for the client. And that is an errors and emissions liability exposure that needs to be insured separately, so they would need professional liability. In addition to that, environmental liability is almost a standard anymore. You really need to look at it if you're doing work that relates to the land in any way where it will impact the environment. That's a very sensitive area in the country right now. So that's definitely something to pay attention to. Teresa has policies that she can obtain for you if you have a client that has that exposure. And then last but not least is pollution liability is absolutely right along there with the environmental exposure. It's like if you're polluting, the painter, drops, cans of paint in the street, they fall out the back of the truck. It's a huge issue, the liability tied to that, and there's a lot of fines, and it's very much frowned upon. So that's pretty much an out of pocket. There's a small limit on the property side for pollution on the contractors. Actually, there is no pollution insurance on the contractor's liability policy. Forgive me. So you would need to buy a separate policy, which Teresa can assist you with as well. So these are all coverages to consider along with that contractor's liability exposure. It's more, you have to ask a lot more questions these days in order to really insure a contractor properly. So we finished up a little bit early today, but I want to thank you for joining us. For those of you that have not done business with us, I encourage you to go to our website at CIDinsurance.com. We are very supportive of our brokers. We create marketing tools, proposal templates, all types of tools for you to help you do a better job at what you do. We have lots of educational information, we have our webinars. We have lots of recorded webinars on different types of business coverages and also classes of business. And we definitely have lots of short, little, like 2 to 5 minute, little educational pieces, videos that you can watch if you don't have time for a 30-minute webinar. And you can watch it on a separate coverage or a little snapshot of information that we will educate you with. Submissions are easy. You can send them to submissions at CIDinsurance.com. Teresa, and you can copy Teresa if you're submitting a contractor so that she knows it's coming in. And here's her information for you to reach out to her. We thank those that are doing business with us, and we look forward to doing more business with you. And those of you that are new to us, I recommend that you try us out. We get lots of referrals, and we're easy to do business with, and we're fast with our quotes. And we answer our phones and our emails in a timely manner. So thank you all again for joining us, and we look forward to doing business with you. Take care.